and then we'll give you the floor.
Yeah, go ahead. I just don't hear as quite as loud, but
Okay.
hold on.
Well, welcome everyone. Today is the February.
I can't believe.
Welcome everyone. Today is February 21st. It's approximately 5:33. This is the reconvened Board of Finance budget hearing for the fiscal year 2023-2024. And tonight is our first department hearing or hearings on the departments. So we'll proceed unless anybody has any initial comments or questions or administrative matters to address. Okay. If not, we first item on the agenda is fire department, and we have Chief Ito here. Welcome, Chief.
Hello. I have a few other members with me and some battalion chiefs under some succession training. But we're happy to answer any questions that you may have for this year's budget. Well, go ahead. I'll if you have any questions.
Well, I just want to know whether that was coincidence or whether the story was conveniently planted that you could having a lot more calls these days.
Strictly coincidence.
Yes, I figured.
Hey, Chief Ito, I just had a quick question. What is the difference between overtime regular and overtime EMS?
So for the overtime EMS, we typically just use that for the ambulances.
Okay,
Is what for the ambulances on the EMS side.
got it. You've,
If I could, I have, oh, go ahead, Lauren, I'm sorry.
I was just vacancies. How are we doing with the fire department?
Yes, thank you. That's a great question because you know that was ongoing and that really hurt our overtime
Right.
vacation relief budget
Yeah.
as well as the Garcia pay. And it was 2 years plus with the COVID, but we're finally caught up. We're catching up. There's a recruit class right now, just started last week. They'll be graduating on May 24th. And at that point, we would have one vacancy from the 17 that we had.
Wow.
However, that doesn't mean to say that there may be one or two more people that are going to retire by this summer.
Right.
So the hope is in July with this budget coming into place, we'll only have that maybe three. Four would be a lot, I would honestly say, as far as the vacancy starting the new budget year for July 1. And it's not, we asked for money in those accounts as we do. We made some gains, but to be honestly, we think that it's going to be a wash in July because of the vacancies are filling up. So we're hopeful that this year's budget will stay pretty good. I could have used a little more. I do have a favor to ask when everyone's done. As far as my budget.
Thank you.
Sorry, what were you asking, Doug? Or Chief Ito?
Well, if you're done. So I appreciate the capital budget and the process and getting the new fire truck and the bonding package, which we need. They're 2 years to build. It's not like off the shelf or lot. So it's going to take 2 years to even receive it. So the current truck will be 2 years older. And again, I appreciate it, but also in my capital plan, I put in for roofs. And now they're not on right now this year, but in the 5 year, you can see that they're in the 24-25 season. But my roofs are leaking now, and I probably should have said something back then in that hearing, but I need, if I could put it in here at some point, $225,000 to do just 2 roofs. I initially needed 400 for 3 roofs, but I need this firehouse headquarters and I need Station 7 Wheelers Farms Road roofs repaired. They're currently leaking. I could show you a leak if you want, where I water my plant in my office. I don't think I can wait another year to get that. So I'd like to see if I could put it in a building repair or something, or building upkeep in this current budget. Or if there's another account somewhere in the city, I could use some funds from.
And just to clarify, so that's an addition to, it's not a, take one thing away, add this back in type deal. It's on top of, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And on my speaking point out, I should have done that night. Well, like I said, we did get the fire truck. There's, I don't remember to count the various improvements and maintenance in the city side. And it specifically mentioned some roofs, and I probably should have added the 2 firehouses in that.
How old are those roofs?
Honestly, I don't know this one headquarters. I know it was remodeled in 98, maybe.
Hmm.
92. Okay. Well, I'm sure it wasn't that old. When I was in the finance battalion chief job, that was in 97. Headquarters or Station 7 was done at $82,000. Currently, that firehouse is $131,000 to do.
What's
I
the
don't have
thought process?
copy of-
Is that, sorry, I didn't, what's the thought process? Like, is that, you've already gotten bids and everything, and we know it's underneath if you start tearing stuff apart, or is that just an initial estimate?
I did. No, I got 3 quotes from 3 vendors.
So that's a real quote. Gotcha.
And those are the 3 numbers. I'm currently going and doing another one this week. Another vendor wants to come out and give me some pricing on these 2. Again, these 2 buildings really need it.
I don't have the capital improvement budget in front of me, but what is the plan with Station 7? I mean, that seems to be one of our older stations, or probably the oldest station in town at this point, I think. Is there any
Other than headquarters, no, it's I was 1969, I believe, that one, 1969. No plans for it. No, it's still an active station, and there's buildings and a lot of growth on Wheelers Farms Road, as you see. And currently there's more being built. So it's a very busy, active station. In fact, in one of my plans down the road, I'm sure I won't be here, but I'd like to see another firehouse, maybe out on the Post Road towards the Orangetown line.
Which
Well,
firehouse
I
goes?
guess my question, to be more specific, is the plan just to keep Station 7 in service as it is now, or to replace it like we've done with other stations and around town? Because it's what, 60 years old at this point, almost 60 years old.
We don't have any plans to remove it or remodel it or relocate, other than adding maybe a firehouse to the station. One thing I would like to consider is putting on a peak roof. And I think the Public Works building did that years ago, flat roof, but then they put some trusses on and made a pitched roof just to get away from these flat roof issues. The 2 newer buildings too on Naugatuck Avenue and New Haven Avenue have small areas of flat roof, but they're all hip roofs or pitched roofs, just to get away from this issue.
Oh.
That's all. That was just a request when you deliberate.
Okay, going to revenue side and the paramedic fees, I see there's fairly substantial increase to $1.5 million this year. Is that, do you think that's the number or range we're gonna be looking at for the next year?
Yeah, we're hopeful. Again, that's super prediction. You just can't tell. But we did add a third ambulance. We're running 3 now. So we're hopeful that it's going to be somewhat a significant revenue maker. The calls are going up. And again, like I mentioned, so these buildings that we're building, Broad Street's almost completed, and that, you're gonna get, how many units are in there? 200 units. If it's a couple, there's 400 people, and that's 400 more calls for us, possibility of calls.
Chief, I think that's only 77 units.
Okay. So over 150. But Kmart's Plaza is being built, and then Wheeler's Farms Road's being built. I mean, there's a number of them, and we could really add them up. But it does increase our call volume.
What's your average call volume per, I don't know, day, week? How do you?
Annually, we're just hovering at the 9,000 mark the last couple of years. It's been going up. 8,500, 83. This year was 92. And again, I believe in our charts, it's of those calls, 63% are medicals of that 9,000 calls.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Vito. Anybody further? Anything further from the board? Oh, Chief, I'm going to keep you online for emergency management, page 58.
Yeah, hold on. I'll change that. So emergency management, I believe that stayed the same. I want to thank you guys too for moving the meeting for me, because we're busy tonight. We have some meetings. I apologize.
Anytime.
Yeah, I know, and I don't want to make it quick, but emergency management stayed the same. There's no additions there. And the next two, the lights, hydrants, street lighting that Peter usually does, that stayed the same, and as well as cement. And I always say, well, the light hydrant one, that's the one that just pays the bills. We have it for some reason, other than there's fire hydrants involved.
Right.
But yes, I believe they stayed the same. We tried to stay within the orders for staying a flat budget, as we do. Some increases into wages, but I believe all 4 of them are flat.
Thank you, Chief. Anybody further?
Oh, good.
Okay. Thank you. Move on. Harvard Management Commission.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, Jim. It is page 108
Yeah.
or 109, I suppose, is Marina. Yeah, same. Well, you're welcome. Any members of the commission, or and going forward, if there's any department heads would like to make a statement prior to the board asking questions, you're welcome to. Otherwise, if any members of the board have questions, we'll just jump in. But if there's any statement you'd like to make, we're happy to hear it.
Sure, thank you. The Harbor Enterprise has had another great year. At the end of the last fiscal year, we showed continued growth on all of our revenue categories across the board. In the last 2 years, we've increased revenue by 41% overall. Last season, all of the moorings in Milford Harbor and the Housatonic River were full for the first time in a number of years. And last summer was also the busiest summer on record for the marina. And we provided over 1,500 nights of dockage to boaters visiting Milford. And we've had a very good season, and we're looking forward to a great season upcoming. And if there are any questions on the budget, I would be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions from any members? Well, it's less related to the commission than it is to the harbor, but my recollection was the harbor was supposed to be dredged this year. Has that been postponed?
We're working with the Army Corps of Engineers now. The process has been ongoing for 7 or 8 years to get to the point of where we're at now. The project has funding, and we're scheduled to dredge this coming winter, the winter of 23-24. So we're getting everything in line now. We'll go through the summer, and then dredging will begin as soon as the season ends.
Okay. Good. Well, it's a great asset, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Finance Department, page 37.
Thank you, Chairman Lima. This is Peter Eridisi, Finance Director, and I'll just begin by saying that the Finance Department, all of its various offices and divisions have been busy this past year and have done an outstanding job meeting the challenges that we have faced. And I'd like to thank the staff for all their work and contributions. The budget itself is relatively flat. We have the contractual wage increases as expected, and some adjustments in certain accounts, but overall fairly stable. I would like to point out that in the position section, just to give you some background, the departments are asked to complete BR3 forms for any requested position changes. And for the Finance Department, I know that we've tried to make targeted changes gradually over the years as needed. And I know it's difficult for the city to make changes at times with the budgetary constraints, and it's hard to make changes across the board. But as a department head and as other department heads look at their operations, things change over time. We look at the workload, we look how things have evolved. And in our case, we haven't had changes year over year in certain positions. And there's one position in particular that I made a request. It's for the clerk A in the finance office. When this position was created over 15 years ago, the operations of finance were vastly different. We've undergone a lot of changes over time. We have converted into a new system, and we have expanded the use of credit cards across numerous city departments, for example. And overall, looking at this position, we're finding that we're hitting a wall based on its particular level. There's only so much we can ask the incumbent to do. And so we're always hitting a wall, and that's putting pressure on the office, on the treasurer, payroll administrator in particular, and to some extent, my office. And so we're not only looking at the person that's currently in the job, but we're also thinking about the future. And it's been brought to my attention over numerous years that this position needs to be changed, if you will, so that the position can do more to support Treasury in particular. And I was hoping to be able to upgrade it one level to grade 25 and convert it to a treasury finance specialist in line with the accounting specialist and the other titles within finance. And we're looking at the future as well, if we ever had to recruit for this job, with the hope of adding additional responsibilities to the person in the job and for the person who takes over when this person eventually retires or leaves the city. We would like to add more responsibilities to support treasury and finance. And so that was a request that was made. Unfortunately, we weren't able to put it in the mayor's budget, but I just wanted to put that out there that a BR3 form was submitted, and hope you would take it under your consideration. Thank you.
So there's one additional clerk, is what you're saying, Peter, inside the budget here that's not reflected in what's printed?
No, it's an existing clerk. It's one of the clerks in this on page 38. And this position resides in the finance office, works very closely with the treasurer, payroll administrator. And as I was saying, as we look to recruit in the future for the position, and as we look to the current person in the position, we would like to add more responsibilities to the job description so that there could be more support for the additional work that has been placed upon not only treasury, but in my office as well. It's just the work has so evolved. There's a lot more analytical work, reconciliation work, and with the introduction of credit cards, not only in the tax office, but increasingly in multiple departments. And I know Public Works now wants to add it at the transfer station. That's just one example of the work, how complicated it's become. And so the person involved is great. She really works hard and goes above and beyond. But then again, as I said, with the job description, we often hit a wall, and that puts a lot of pressure on the treasurer, payroll administrator in particular. You've seen the turnover. Our prior treasurer, payroll administrator Mary Ann left the position. I know some of the frustration and concerns were related to this topic. And so as I talk with human resources, with the new treasurer, and also with employees within my department, it becomes clear to me that we need to look at this position, and maybe it's hard to upgrade it further, but just a minor upgrade, one more, so that we can revise the job description and add some more responsibilities to it to support our operations.
Gotcha.
Well, as I see it, then you're really converting the clerk A to what, for lack of a position 5, which is some sort of accounting specialist. I would suggest, unless members of the board have any concerns, is that for our working session, at least, if you could prepare an alternative for what that would be. I mean, I'm looking at it now, it doesn't look like it'd be much, or would be under $10,000 in increase, roughly.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to point out that, again, we have requests for pay increases across the board. If we are going to consider, I would just suggest that you do it in a wholesale equitable fashion, so that kind of onesie twosies do set a precedent. And if we are going to do a realignment of salaries for existing employees, I think we need to do it in a thoughtful, deliberate way, so that, again, the dozens and dozens of requests that, for wage increases gets handled appropriately, so that it doesn't spiral out of control, that we do it with equity, we do it with a thought on the holistic budget as opposed to individual requests. That would be my only suggestion. I included that in my message at the beginning that if we are going to consider, requests for bumps in salary for existing employees, generally, especially ones that are part of the collective bargaining process, we negotiate those in good faith between labor and management. If we're going to be doing it with a non-represented employee, we do that generally after related contracts are done, and we do it through ordinance, but we just do it deliberately. And there's a lot of thought because, again, one increase impacts all of the city of Milford employees. It's not just a one-off. It has to be done with a thought for the entire workforce.
Well, I can certainly appreciate that, Mr. Mayor, but as I interpreted the finance director's comments, it was less to do with the individual than it did to do with the position, and that the duties of the position were changing. And therefore, the clerk A position might no longer be the proper classification for the duties associated with the position. So that may be true in other areas of the city. So I can certainly appreciate the, avoiding, random changes, but on the other hand, if department heads have, a compelling reason why the duties have changed, it may be something to consider.
So would that be like you want to reclassify a clerk A, like eliminate a clerk A position and add an accounting specialist position? Is that what you're?
Not adding the position count would remain the same, but we are looking to reclassify the position to a treasury finance specialist and put it at the same one grade up, grade 25. So the salary would be similar to the accounting specialist that you see above the clerk A.
Right. Okay. So head count would stay the same, but
Head count would be the same. We would just reclassify the position and add more responsibilities to the job description.
thank you.
And Peter, you're currently you're fully staffed, so there's no vacancies in this budget here.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Scott, no, we had two vacancies. One was, I believe, filled in the assessor's office. There was a clerk A vacancy there, and that's about to be filled. And we currently have an accounting specialist vacancy, and because that person was promoted to the payroll specialist, so that job, her previous job, the accounting specialist, is currently open, and we are scheduled to have interviews for that position at the end of this week.
Thank you.
Okay, anything further? Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We'll move on to page 39, information technology, formerly MIS.
Good evening, everybody. This is Adam Heller, the IT manager. Great to talk to all of you again.
Good evening.
We continue to support all the departments and help improve all the technology throughout. We've made a lot of significant improvements over the last few years, and we continue to grow. Relative to the budget, we have a couple of line changes, but mostly everything stays the same. Our cell phone budget is going up, but that's a reflection of absorbing cell phones from the fire department. So we're going to be managing more and more cell phones centrally. As our workforce becomes more mobile, it becomes more necessary to have centralized management. It makes it easier for everybody to have their phones working consistently. And then the other one was our computer line. You might recall a couple years ago, we consolidated our computer lines from all other departments into one. With all the upgrades that we had done, we thought we'd give it a try last year to see if we can go with a $1 budget. That turned out not to be feasible with all of the other things we have to do for computer equipment. So we're looking to put back in some of that original budget that was there the year before last. And other than that, we're staying pretty much the same.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to the mayor's office.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Finance. After 20 years of participating in these budget sessions, 8 as an alderman and now 12 as the mayor, it is with a heavy heart that I let you all know that this will likely be my last budget. I, as most of you know, intend to step down from the position of mayor. It's a position that I enjoy and appreciate. I think it's the best job on earth, but never planned to be in this position for life, and always intended to return back to the law. So if I'm so lucky to be approved by both of the houses of the legislature, I will be stepping down to take another public service position. Sometime before June 7th is the intention. So with that, I do intend to finish off the Board of Finance budget with all of you and be a guide on the side as you deliberate and ultimately adopt a budget for the 2023-2024 session. In terms of the mayor's office, it is relatively status quo. There's not a lot of adjustments from last year's proposal. But if you have any questions, I am happy to answer those. Again, happy to answer any questions in other departments as well.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You, personally speaking, it's been a pleasure working with you on many of those budgets, and I certainly appreciate your expertise and guidance. And you know, I think we've done pretty well over the last decade or two getting these things done. So you'll certainly be missed by me. I'm
I'm
not
not
sure
going
if
anywhere, so I'll always be here for you guys, and always happy to participate and help out anytime.
Thank you. Any members of the board have any questions or comments on mayor's office or also general expenses?
No, but best of luck, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. Arnold.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun working with you over the last few years, Mayor. Thank you for all you've done.
Mr. Moulton,
I second that.
Ms. Ranges, thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
You're the
Mayor.
best.
The incoming, you know, I guess appointed mayor, do they step in at the same salary level, or how does that work? Do they jump in at a different schedule?
The position for elected officials is set every 2 years, and it's for the entire term. So it would be the prorated amount for the level. There's no steps for elected officials. It's only one step.
Understood.
Okay. There's nothing further on mayor's office or general expenses. General expenses, page 19. We will move on. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to Public Works.
Do I have an old list? Is it?
Page 2. It's on the second page, page 2. I missed it myself.
Mr. Chairman, this is Peter. I believe we have the golf course next. And
Golf
then,
course, I'm working off the wrong list, huh?
yeah,
It's page, what do we got? 112?
yep. It's on the page 1 of the revised schedule. Golf courses next, and then after that, open space, and then public works.
Could you resend that to me, Peter? Because I checked my emails after I missed fire department, and I don't seem to have the new schedule. That would be helpful. Okay, in any event, we have golf course.
Yeah, good evening. I hope everybody can hear me. I'm Dan Worrell. I'm a golf commissioner for the golf course. I also do the financials and I handle most of the contractual information. I'll just give you a brief update on what's happening with the golf course. We're happy to say that we celebrated our 25 years of existence this past year. I'm happy to say that I've been there since the beginning, so I've seen all the changes. It's amazing that I'm that old, number one. We redid all the sand traps. We eliminated a lot of the dead trees on the golf course. And in return, we planted 20 new trees with the help of Jeremy Grant. And in the spring, they'll be blooming and the course will look great. Just a couple quick things when it involves our budget. If I have any questions, I want to thank the mayor's office for helping us out. The mayor, Justin Rosen. I also want to thank Peter's office, how I can move stuff around legally without any problems. And I'd like to thank Tony Weeks, who took over seamlessly for Kathy Kennedy as our secretary. The rounds were good this year. It was the second highest in the last 5 years. Our carts are up. They've been going up every year. Our pull carts are going up every year. And basically our budget is the same amount as it has been last year. We're looking forward to a great season this year. We got some new ideas that we're going to be employing. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dan. It's again, another asset to the city. Any members have any questions?
I think I saw people golfing the other day. Did you guys ever close?
We closed, but since nice weather was predicted for some weeks in January and February, they opened. And I can tell you that 2 of the days in February, all the tee times are booked.
No.
So those are additional rounds that we weren't expecting, but it was nice to see the people out there.
Just a quick question. You got the depreciation expenses. What are you depreciating?
Well, let's see. That's really Peter's Peter's neck of the woods. It went down a little bit this year. I don't know, Peter, maybe you can tell you exactly what it is. Maybe it's the building.
Yes, Dan, this is Peter. Yeah, primarily it's the maintenance building that was constructed a number of years ago is one piece. And then the additional capital work that was done over the years, those are compiled in the schedule and depreciate over time according to accounting rules. And so that number can change over time as we go through the depreciation schedule. But I check on the number with Vernell in our accounting office each year, and it is tracked now in Munis with our capital asset system. So that's where that number comes from each year.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? All right, thank you, Dan.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Open space, page 34. Welcome.
Hi, good evening, everybody. So this has been a fantastic year for open space and people getting outside and getting to enjoy some of the beautiful spots we have throughout the city. As Dan noticed, and Lauren did as well on the golf course, we have people this winter out enjoying Eisenhower and our trails of Solomon more than ever. We did 2 new bridges at Solomon Woods with the help of 2 separate Eagle Scouts. Added some new trailblazers. We're currently doing an outdoor stage at Eisenhower. We're going to be taking in, that's actually currently out to bid at the moment. We have an Earth Day celebration coming up this April. That'll be on the green to celebrate Earth Day itself. And also that will be followed by the 3rd annual 500 tree giveaway, where we've been able to take and get so far 1,000 trees planted in people's yards throughout the city, enhancing and beautifying everybody's neighborhoods. So this spring will be an additional 500, along with about 80 trees that we planted throughout the city this past fall alone. So we're definitely doing everything we can to get green up Milford. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know my budget's probably one of the easiest ones in the city.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any questions from the board?
Did you say there was a stage being built at Eisenhower possibly?
Yes, a few years ago, there was a concrete slab that was laid in the lower open field of Eisenhower. So we're using some ARPA money to take in to complete that project to have a covered stage with lighting and storage as well for any type of seating and amenities that go with it. So there's going to be a lot of plans and activities for that stage to put on outdoor events.
Great.
Thank you. I'm sorry, did you say you were there was grant funds for that, or where was the funding coming for the stage?
That was the ARPA money.
ARP? Okay.
The federal.
All right, thank you. All right, so nothing further, we'll move on. Now I think I've got to correct Public Works. Page 63.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us tonight. I know it's a long meeting with all the budget things going on, so I'll just talk about a few of the highlights that we have. Obviously, as Peter mentioned, regards to employees, the struggle of retaining good quality employees. And also, getting new ones to come in. It's a struggle within I think all businesses, especially city businesses. And also the extra work that I think the department with, now that I wouldn't say COVID's behind us, but with COVID in our rearview mirrors, the work and the activities that we're going, the department's been very busy with a lot of outside activities from the beaches and the parks, and also the auditoriums and the playgrounds and all the work that the residents of Milford have come to appreciate under the guidance of the mayor, who's done a great job with that. We have a lot of positive things to be, very happy about within the city. And, one of the things that I want to apologize is I'm not the best with paperwork, and I was trying to do a BR3 with some of the employees. It's one of the things I'll try to get to the finance board in the next few days about some positions I'd like to see moved around a little bit. I know, like I said, I made a mistake and I didn't get those in the appropriate way. But it's an opportunity, I think, to highlight some of the things that we do, but also to, give something to present employees that are working hard and also save the city some money. But I'm going to try to get that to you guys in the next, like I said, week or two. And then I'm open for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Saley. So this is on Public Works, page 63, 64. And as we move through, we will address the other departments, but anything from the board on Public Works? This is more of a general question. I think a few years ago, we added that construction project manager. Does he work on, basically, he or she work on all of the projects within the city, or just obviously I wouldn't think the school building projects, but just the city side projects? Is that?
Yeah, yes, Brian. Pat Devine is the project manager. He's been working with us. He does a number of projects. The most recent one was the pavilion at Lisbon Landing. I'm not sure if everyone saw that. He turned that around in 6 weeks. It was really an impressive feat to get it done for the season. I think it's well used down there. I think it's going to continue to be well used. They're also planning on doing an update into the main building with some public bathrooms and also some bathrooms for the marina. That's going to happen, I believe, in the next few months, hopefully before the season starts. Those are the kind of the projects that Pat's involved with. But he's also involved with paving, our pavement restoration plan within the city, which over the last few years has been substantial. Anywhere between $2 and $5 million a year we do with pavement restoration. So he's involved with managing that, making sure the city's getting value and making sure that the contractors that are doing the work are doing the work appropriately.
That's thank you, Chris. Thank you. Anything further on Public Works? Okay, Highway Parks, page 65.
Again, if I could highlight, we've done a few little repairs on some of the ball fields. The softball fields are heavily used in Milford, and our parks foreman Tom Hunt, along with one of the working leaders, Robert Harrigan, have highlighted some of the ball fields that they've done. We did Brewster Field in the fall. We're looking to do one or two in the spring. These are the things that the department has been doing on a regular basis.
I've said it before, but I think the parks and the beaches in Milford have never looked as good as, at least in my memory. So,
What is the miscellaneous professional fees and services for the $100,000 request?
So we always have, it's kind of a hybrid. It really covers a lot of different things. It really is, it can cover any number of items, but we have some tree removal that we use through that account. And as you can see, the mayor is pretty tight with the budget, so we can request it, but he cuts it pretty fully. So, but yeah, it covers a lot of different items.
Got it. Thanks.
Mr. Saley, you mentioned earlier having a hard time keeping talented workers. What are your vacancies like at the moment?
I believe we have about 21 or 22 vacancies. We just filled one clerk position in the office. So the office is fully managed right now for the first time in a number of years. But it has been a struggle. Even though the city offers, I think, a very competitive benefit package, nowadays people aren't looking to be in a job forever. So they're looking for the dollar amount. So that's one of the reasons, looking at some of the items that we tried to highlight, Steve Johnson and myself, are going to try to make a proposal that will make sense to move some things around, but yet still save the city some money.
And is that 21 to 22 vacant? I mean, it's just department wide. I mean, there's no shortage in any one area. It's pretty much across the board, if I'm hearing you right.
Yeah, presently, I believe we have 4 custodians that are vacant. We have a number of truck driver laborers. We have a few people in wastewater. We have a few people in solid waste. So it goes across. The one department that is full is my office, and literally the person just started today. So we're excited about that. And we have, it does take a time. It takes a while. We just did a training, truck driver training, what I'm going to say meeting, but a truck driver training thing so that people could come in and see if they were qualified to run a truck. So we're waiting for that list to be qualified. And it just takes, like I said, it takes time sometimes to fill some of the positions. And typically with our department, people do retire. We just lost the heating and cooling tech. And I think that's one of the positions we might struggle a little bit. We probably want to look at some wage adjustments on those to see.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing further on highway parks, move on to building maintenance, page 69. Page 69, electricity. Obviously, there's been a lot of news about rates. Are we locked in with a long-term contract for electricity, or how do we handle electricity? Is it just the market, or do we have some other preferential rates?
I'll let the mayor answer that, but that's been locked in. I believe it's another year, Mayor, on the generation, but the T&D, the transportation, the distribution, that's been adjusted, and that's going to be a little bit of a concern for us.
So the generation costs, we go out to bid and we lock that in through a contract. In addition to that, the transmission costs, there is a proposal through PURA that UI is asking for an increase, which is like 5% per year for a 3-year period. Through our Council of Governments, we're pushing back on that. That's still in the hearing process right now, but energy rates are increasing. The generation costs are exponentially increasing. There's not much we can do other than what we've done, which is kind of lock in a per kilowatt amount, which again, right now we're good with, but when the contract expires, and I can get you the exact timing of when it expires, there will likely be a cost differential, but we're good for this year, is my understanding. And in addition to that, we also have taken some of our major buildings offline through the microgrid. Again, there's additional complications for having to manage an additional utility, which is the microgrid, but the critical infrastructure that is Parsons, City Hall, Harborside Middle School, the Tolson building, and the senior center, those buildings, which when the grid goes down, they don't necessarily go down because they're able to island onto themselves and build resiliency into our infrastructure. But those operate through a CHP when it's in island mode, and the CHP also funnels back to the grid. And again, it's a cost neutral, if not a cost benefit for the city. So that hopefully will see savings over the 20-year period that we anticipate this microgrid being up and viable.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Staley. Any thing from the board on building maintenance? Well, Mr. Chief Ito had mentioned roofs for the fire department. Are those not handled under building maintenance, or does he have responsibility for his own facility, so to speak?
So Chief Ito approached me about 2 months ago, a month and a half ago about it. And it's one of the things we're in the process of looking at that issue. And hopefully, we'll be working through that through the bonded city account and get that straightened away. And that's one of the things, making sure buildings are watertight is the most critical thing in the city, building wise. So, and we've done a pretty good job. I mean, we have a lot more work to do, but we've made a lot of improvements over the last few years.
Okay, thank you. Okay, nothing else on building maintenance, engineering, page 73. General garage, page 74.
And that, again, that'll be an area that we want to look at. We're struggling right now. I think we have 2 positions and it's been very challenging to find qualified individuals for the garage. In the city, a lot of people don't realize there's a lot of work going inside the garage in regards to keeping our equipment up and running. Along with the police department, we manage their fleet also.
I'll take a look, but you know off top of your head whether does the police department have a separate line item for vehicle maintenance, or does it all fall under your department?
I believe it's all under us.
I'll have to take a look, but okay, thank you. Anything further on general garage? Solid waste operations, page 76.
And Lindsey King is the superintendent of wastewater. He's online if you have any questions specific for Lindsey.
Hey, Chris, it's solid waste.
Oh, I thought it was wastewater. I'm sorry, solid waste?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure what I said, but it is solid waste. Page
Okay,
76.
so I'll talk about solid waste. Thanks, Steve. So as everyone's aware, there's going to be a lot of pressure on this department over the next few years. Presently, we're paying over $99 a ton for our tipping fee just for recycling. It adjusts as the commodity market changes. It was as low as $40 and change a few months ago, but now it's back up again to $99. So that's going to be a big issue, continue to be a big issue. There's just not a lot of desire for recycled material at the present time. In regards to MSW, again, another issue. We just had our cost of living that was adjusted January 1st. It's three quarters of the cost of living through this the cost of living index, but we're paying 72 and change to get rid of MSW, which is our trash, plus our tipping fee, plus our hauling component on that. And that's going to be continued pressure. Our contract ends in June of 2024. So we got a window here, but we anticipate a significant increase the following year.
On the tipping fees, you expect a significant increase next year?
Yes, on MSW. Recycling, I can't believe it can go any higher, but I would never say never. So, I mean, it's $99 to recycle material as opposed to 72 and change to burn it. It doesn't make sense, but that's where we're at right now.
Got it.
Chris,
Yes.
one thing I'd like to point out on the topic of solid waste is that city waste removal cost account, where the department had requested 2.2 million. If I'm looking at our expenses and the way that's running with the increased costs projected out over the month, over the full year, it's running closer to 2.7 right now. That includes the bulk as well as the increased tipping fees, et cetera. So as much as we've been trying to keep a lid as everything we can, it's an increasing pressure.
Yes, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Do you think we'll always continue to do the bulk pickup, or does that make a difference? I know some towns and around us don't do bulk pickup. Does that make a difference? I don't,
Yeah,
It's extremely popular.
I love it.
everyone loves it but me. And I say that to people all the time. Around numbers, we do about 1,800 to 1,900 tons in the spring, and we do about 11 to 12 in the fall. And as the mayor says, I don't think any politician wants to take it away, but it should be something that's looked at, in my opinion.
You should have hit mute before that question.
Well, in theory, it's not gonna save us in tipping fees, because, I mean, it may save us hourly, because I think most people, if they can, will just bring it to the transfer station anyway, right? I mean, it's just. It's just a matter of how it gets there.
Yeah, it amazes me, like trying to reuse things, how many items get thrown out that are in fairly good condition. And that's not just at bulk, also at the transfer station in general.
Right.
So.
Okay, and just for clarity, the recycling fees are included in the single line item for city waste removal costs, right? They're not broken down between the two, MSW and recyclables.
That is correct. And that's where the challenge is in regards to, like Steve's talking about, where we're projected to be in for that number, 2.7. And I know you guys as a board probably remember not too long ago, we were getting $20 a ton. So it was offsetting some of the expenses, and now we're paying, 90, 99. So and we do about 4,200 tons a year in recycling. So you can quantify that about how much more that is. So that's kind of where we're at.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now Lindsay's up.
Lindsay.
Wastewater,
Hey, folks.
how are you?
Good.
Page 102, I think, 101. 101. Hey, wastewater.
All right. So some of the challenges we're facing, like most people, cost increases. We're seeing a big increase in our sludge hauling costs. That goes to incineration. Statewide, that's been going up. There's limited facilities in the state, and a lot of it's getting shipped out of state, which is increasing costs. And across the line, a lot of items have gone up. We use a lot of polymers, and we see significant increases in that. Liquid oxygen that we use for odor control has gone up. I think it went up 80%, if you could believe it. So that's on the purchasing end. That's a big issue. On the operation and maintenance, we have an awful lot of equipment running. 43 pump stations, 2 treatment plants, hundreds of miles of sewer in the ground. And as that ages, we have more breakdowns and more stuff to take care of. So that's just sort of some of the things we're juggling in wastewater. So if anyone's got any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Hey, and Lindsay, one of the things I'd like to touch base with the board too is to make them understand that I think we have to be a little bit more creative with some of the pipe repair work we're doing in regards to getting more aggressive with lining pipes. I don't know if everyone's aware, but West Haven recently had a pretty significant issue where a pipe failed and it was in such poor condition they couldn't line it, and then they had to do an emergency authorization. They do, I think it was 800 feet of 20 or 24-inch pipe. So I think the city, we should be looking at that as one of the things for the next budget season and even this budget season coming up. So
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Lining is significantly cheaper. But if your pipes get old enough, the joints get misaligned, or you have a collapse, it's no longer lineable, and then it's an open trench excavation. Significantly more expensive to do it that way. So I think getting a head start on some of these pipes, they're all getting older. You line it, you basically have a new pipe at that point. And you don't have to worry about it for another 50 years or 100 years, whatever it is.
This would be, I would assume that would be part of a budget, bonding request? Or part of the part of the regular budget?
Yeah, so we have a couple items in the capital list. One is for a study, sanitary sewer evaluation study. And basically what that does is it looks, at your system and tells you what pipes need to be lined, because rather than going out and trying to line everything, we can't afford to do that, and it's not an effective use of money. But you do the study, you do camera inspections, smoke, you blow smoke in the pipes, and a bunch of other things you can do to identify areas that are problematic, especially areas that are leaking in groundwater or roof leaders and excess water coming in. So you want to remove that from the system. That way you can kind of pinpoint, areas of need in the system and go after those.
Hey, and Brian, you asked, so the sewer department has a significant amount of money in the reserve account that I
Okay.
think we can tap into when we highlight or, look at a certain area. And as Lindsay says, we're going to look at where we're going to get the biggest bang for the dollar.
Right. Well, again, I think you guys should be proud of the job you're doing in wastewater, because see a lot of other municipalities in the state that have a lot of issues with it, and it's certainly a major municipal function, and I think Milford should be proud of how they handle it. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Anything further? Sewer Commission Fund 12, that's page 98, 99. Okay, I'm so settled here. Hey. Okay, move on to public debt service. Full debt service. I think it's page 93. Nothing on public debt service, school debt service. Employee benefits, non-teaching. Which is right here. That's page 84.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I do have a question about the self-insurance contribution. There seems
Yes.
to be a significant increase.
Peter, the mayor, it's page 84, going up to about $3 million roughly.
So that's attributable to a few things. Our health insurance, we do have stopgap insurance or excess coverage, but that is also going up. But we are self-insured for our health insurance. We had the same discussion last year. Our last year's health insurance increased significantly. And again, the consultants do say that it was based on claims that during the pandemic, a lot of the elective surgeries and things like that were pushed off or delayed. And we saw a huge uptick or increase in actual claims or usage of our health insurance. We're seeing that continued this year. Before the end of the budget process in May, we're going to have another update from our health care consultants. But at this point, the claims are way up. Last year, we were able to mitigate some of that bump in costs through some ARPA money. We're able to use some of the claims that were really kind of linked back to some of the pandemic related uses, and utilize some of that funding to offset the budget increase last year. But again, we are now facing it this year, and that's why you do see that uptick. We're hoping for better news within the next couple months as we get our quarterly update from the insurance consultants. But at this point, we are bracing again for this bad news or this bad uptick. Peter may have some more detail to share as well.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I'll just add to that. The mayor mentioned that we do have stop loss coverage, and that covers us up for claims that are over the $200,000 threshold. But we do have, in our experience, a couple of high cost claims that were lasered. And that started last year and continues this year, where by regulation, the insurer is the third party administrator rather is allowed to laser those claims, so that we'd be, I believe, have to pay up to $600,000 on those, at least those two high claims. So this lasering adds an additional increase to the contribution, and it is a factor as well.
Okay, what is lasering?
Lasering is when they are allowed to select certain high cost claims, and instead of the city only being liable up to 200,000, they're allowed to increase that. I believe it's an additional 400,000, if I'm not mistaken. So we'd be liable up to 600,000 on certain high cost claims. So they laser and pinpoint to those particular claims based on the claims experience over time.
Got it. Thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. My question was as to the police and fire pension contributions. Can you give us a little status on how we are in that regard?
So for the last couple of years, and again, the proposal this year is to continue to pay the addict, which is the annual required contribution. We have overall a very healthy pension fund. One of the things that we have done over the last several years is we have lowered the anticipated rate of return. What does that do? That means that from a statistical standpoint, it kind of increases the amount of contributions that we have to do, but it's a more realistic anticipated rate of return. So it's something that the rating agencies and the folks that do our pension audit recommend. So we have done that. We've gone from an 8.25% just a few years back to we're on track to be at a 7% return rate. Peter, is that fair?
Yes, that's fair. We're currently we've phased it in over 5 years to go from 7.5 to 7, and I believe the last valuation was done at 7.3. And so the upcoming valuation will go down to 7.2% for an assumed rate of return, and we're waiting for that 7/1/22 valuation to arrive.
So that discount rate is scheduled to go down to 7.25% or 7.0%?
It's scheduled to eventually go to 7.0.
Okay.
But as the board may recall, we had explained that change from 7.5 to 7.0 was being phased in over 5 years to kind of smooth the impact over time. So the 7/1/21 pension valuation, I believe, was at 7.3. And so the next one coming up for 7/1/22 will go down to 7.2. And eventually, in 2 more years, we will hit the 7.0 assumed rate of return.
Which, we've increased the contribution by well over $3 million over the last 2 years. So it certainly impacts the contribution. Okay, anything further on employee benefits? Insurance and bonds, page 85. Claims and refunds, page 85. Benefit and salary reserve. Page page 86. Are there any pending negotiations this year, or are we all resolved with those matters?
So we've just settled and signed off on several big union contracts. Public Works just a few months ago, police just a few months ago. Those are 2 of our big ones. The fire department about 1.5 years ago. But as soon as we sign off on those, we have the start of new negotiations coming for, really all of our 9 different collective bargaining units. So we have recently resolved some of the bigger ones, but a lot of them start in the relatively near future. So it seems like a constant cycle of resolving outstanding union contracts and then starting the process again, very similar to the budget process. It's almost as soon as we complete one budget, the work begins anew. And that's something that does not change.
All right, thank you. Anything further on benefit and salary reserve? Education audit, page 93. And last but not least, by any means, education health insurance contribution, page 94.
So this has pretty much the same response or talking points that we just reviewed. Health insurance, both on the city and on the Board of Ed. It's all one plan, one program that we have, and it is increasing in cost. The hope is that the consultants give us a favorable update soon, but we are still bracing for this large amount, this large increase. And again, what we've been told, it's based on actual experience, actual usage of the plans.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, through you, is there any way we could get a per capita figure?
So the per capita figure really is the allocation rate. And we do have that. Peter, do you have, there's approximately 5,000 belly buttons on the plan. It changes, probably from week to week, but there's approximately 5,000 people under our plan presently. Peter can probably give you the exact number.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, and one exhibit that may help is in the city's annual comprehensive financial report. There is an extensive note regarding OPEB, other post-employment benefits, and there's some good examples in there on the Board of Ed and city side as to what the average per capita cost is. And it starts on page 54 of the city's financial statements, which are posted to the finance department website, and also hard copies were made available at the time as well. So that might be a good starting point.
Okay, that'll work.
Ray, it's approximately $30,000 for a family. It's approximately, and Peter, please correct me, I would say, is it $13,000 for an individual and $17,000 for a couple, or are those figures a little bit stale?
Those might need some updating, but yeah, the mayor is correct. There is an allocation rate per bargaining unit or firm. The Anthem calls them firm divisions on both the city and Board of Ed side, and so that we get that updated by Anthem each year, and that's used to calculate the premium cost share for the city employees, for example. But the fully insured rate, for example, for a family could be upwards of close to 30,000, for example. So the numbers vary, but on average for a family, it's in the high 20,000s up to 30,000 for the fully insured rate.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, anything further before we recess? Well, thank you all for participating tonight, and spending some time going through the budgets are always helpful. If there is no further business for this evening, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn until Thursday, February 23rd. Recess until Thursday, February 23rd.
Chairman, I'll make a motion that we recess until Thursday, February 23rd at 5:30 p.m.
I second your motion.
Seconded by Lauren. All in favor of recessing until Thursday?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Thanks again.
Thank you.
It's 7 o'clock, and we'll see you Thursday.
See you on
Good
Thursday.
work, everybody. Bye-bye.
Have a
Thank you.
good evening.
Bye-bye.